and we are at Xerox with Robi Botos. Robi, welcome to Rochester.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The CD Place to Place has been really popular with our listeners. People love Smedley's Attack, and they just can't get enough of that tune.
Oh, thank you so much. That's actually Smedley is Oscar Peterson's dog, and that tune talks about me going to the house first time, expecting Oscar to open the doors, but it was Smedley. So,
speaking with Robi Botos, Robi, talk about your journey originally from Hungary, correct?
Yes.
And, how did you discover jazz, and when did you start playing?
I grew up in a musical family, so I started playing piano when I was 7, but I started playing drums when I was probably 3 or 4. My father is a drummer, and my older brother is a drummer. My middle brother is a bass player, and all my relatives are musicians, so it was all around us.
You had no choice.
No, absolutely not. It's a tradition, you know.
So what were your earliest jazz influences?
Well, one of the first things I heard was Red Garland, playing with Miles Davis and Around Midnight, that album. And also a lot of Oscar Peterson, Horace Silver, with the Art Blakey Messengers. So my dad had a lot of good records at home. He kept playing it for us, so it was really easy to get into it, you know.
Probably that said, so that explains why you have such a strong left hand. That's you hear, and also the use of the block chords, because you don't hear that very often in jazz musicians anymore, especially pianists, current pianists using lots of block chords, but you do use them a lot, and it sounds great when you do.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, I'm just trying to check out a lot of different angles for jazz piano, so I have my months and years or weeks of checking out just one type of thing and trying to learn new things. So I did research on the block chords for sure, but never ends.
That said, who have you been listening to these days?
A lot of classical music, a lot of Bach and Chopin, but all kinds of stuff. And I'm trying to listen to more of my roots, Hungarian gypsy music, and generally gypsy music, Romani music from all around the world. I'm trying to, you know, go back as long as possible to see what my roots are, and again at the same time going into the jazz and try to follow back that as well to the roots. They probably will meet somewhere.
So what are your roots?
Originally from Hungary, but I grew up in a Romani gypsy family, so originally they say we came from India, northern India, but there's no 100% answer of where we're coming from. I say we're from the moon.
Sure. That's right. Speaking of Robi Botos here, a member-supported Jazz 90.1, and from the moon as well.
Thanks.
Robi, again, we love the CD so much. Talk about doing this live, and who's playing with you tonight?
I have Mark Castle on drums and Mike Downs, and I'm extremely happy to play with these great musicians. We all play together for other people's projects, and it's always a lot of fun, but it's especially fun when I can get them to play my music, you know.
Talk about it. When you compose, do you hear the whole piece at once, or do you hear it bits and pieces, and then you get the guys together, and then you finish it out that way?
Well, usually it just happens in my head for a while, but sometimes it could take years for one song. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes. Like I had, there's one tune on the record entitled Emmanuel, which is actually a dedication to Oscar Peterson. It's his middle name, and that tune started. I had a couple notes in my head, and then it took me like close to 2 years because I sat down and never really felt like I always wanted to write something, but it never really worked naturally. And then it just happened again, like there was a break, and then the other half of the song came. So you don't want to force it, but sometimes it takes you, just minutes to write something.
Oscar Peterson is often known as a very shy man. What was he really like as a person, and how did you get to meet him?
Well, it's very hard for me to really get into that because unfortunately when I met him, he was already, he wasn't well and he was sick. But I met him in 2004 in Montreal, And then we got to hang a little bit, and I got to go to the house a few times and see him live, and then hang a little bit again. But I can only say that in my personal situation, he was just a very humble, very nice person. And every time I tried to say something to him to express how honored I am, he would just say, shh, you know. So.
Well, we're honored to have you here, Robbie. Thanks so much for making the trek. I know it wasn't easy, especially today, a heavy travel day and getting held up at the border and all those things, but couldn't tell by the bandstand.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.